Greetings from Whiteman Motors. Here we are on the hottest day of 2025. So far this year it's about 80 degrees, and for us that's pretty warm on Whidbey Island. But anyway, this is a 73 Superbeetle. I've never had a Superbeetle before. I bought it because I haven't had one, and I wanted to experience what it's like to have a Superbeetle. And so I've been working on this one for some time. I bought this one because it had no rust on the floor pan, which is unusual for most Volkswagens anyway. It was painted before I bought it, and but the fellow I bought it from, they had the wrong fenders in the rear, so I had to replace the fenders. They had the 1974 fenders in the rear, which are the cushion fenders, the hydraulic fenders mandated by the federal government in '74 for crash resistance in the front and the rear. This is the last year of the standard bumper without the cushioning and the shock absorber bumpers in the front and the rear. And I've done quite a bit of work on this one. I found out also this is a standard Superbeetle, if you want to call it that, but Superbeetles were a lot different because of the air restrictions and the pollution control stuff. That there's tubing all over these cars, and I found out the hard way that all the tubing, if they're missing or broken, the tubes and whatnot, which is very typical, then you have a gas smell, which is very common with the Superbeetle, I found out. And this had that. It has a vent system for the vapor, capturing the vapors and whatnot. And if that's not all perfect, then you have all kinds of issues with the smell in the car from gasoline. Not exhaust like an older Beetle. It's a lot nicer now than it was when I started, and it's quite a different experience driving this compared to a standard VW. Just because of the heavier front end. It's got the McPherson strut front end, which makes it a lot more planted, and it definitely can tell the difference between the older Beetles and this one. I mean, the wind doesn't catch it like the older Beetles do. This one is a nice shape. It's got the original door panels. That's a little worn for the pocket, but this is unusual because most Beetles never had a pocket in the passenger side. This one, the Superbeetles did, and the upholstery's been replaced. This one had carpeting, which I took out because it's not supposed to have carpeting in the floor. This comes standard with the rubber floor mats, like you see here. I was able to find them and make it standard, like it's supposed to be. And the dashes, most dashes of these with the plastic are cracked when they're this old, but this one was straight. I'm not sure if it's been replaced or not. I've had to take the steering wheel apart many times because I've had to replace the windshield wipers, a wiper switch, which is in the column, and the wiper motor, which is in the front. It's a little more difficult to work on these because all the wiring's up from the bottom underneath the dash, as opposed to coming from the trunk on a normal older Beetle. But the seats are nice. The headliner was replaced just before I bought it, and it's got a new headliner. It's pretty much a standard Beetle. It still doesn't have hardly any room in the rear seat, as you can see. With this seat here is back all the way, and whoever sits back there has to be pretty small in the back seat. Otherwise, it's very similar. The running boards are original. They have a little wear, but they're nice enough. I didn't want to disturb that. The window rubber had to be replaced, which is common with most Volkswagens anyway, because of when the new headliner was installed. This has the large taillight lenses, and that's another learning curve. I found out you got to be careful with those. You can't tighten the screws down too much, otherwise they have to be slid in and have to be pretty much all the way in. If you're not careful and you try to pull it in with the screws, you'll break off the fitting inside the light housing. I found this out the hard way too. And the engine's just a standard 1600 dual port engine, and this is supposedly original with 76,000 miles, something like that. And I was told it was original by the owner I bought it from, and It probably is. But as you can see, all this tubing was very common, and this all had to be replaced because it goes into the canister that's on the inside of this fender, and all the tubing coming from the front to the back and whatnot has to be just right. If it's not, you're going to get a gas smell, pretty much like most other Beetles are. It is a different experience, you know, just handles very well. It's very planted, and it's not no surprises when you're driving it, which is nice. And I was very picky about finding one that was all original, had not been modified, because you can find millions of them that have been modified. Everybody wanted to modify a Volkswagen.
We're taking this for a little spin, a little drive, but again, it's not as skittish. It's not as, it's definitely more planted than a regular Beetle from pre-1967, for sure. One of the issues that Volkswagen was facing is that back in when this car was made, is that many people said that they were cheaper. They just felt cheaper. They made a zillion of these things, so I don't know how they did this to satisfy their profit margin, but it just feels a little bit different than the older Beetles. Any Volkswagen can be fun. The 67 that I have that I compare this with is kind of more sporty, just because it feels a lot lighter than this one. But yeah, that's just the nature of the beast. And the 67 that I have has a 1500 standard engine, and whereas this is a 1600, not much difference. Going up big hills and whatnot, with this one, it's more taxing. It takes more effort to get up the hills with this car because it is heavier for sure. In order to replace the wiper motor you can get from the front like I did, you know, on a regular Beetle, but to get to the switch and to have it wired in, you got to go underneath the dash to do it, and it's very, very confining underneath the dash. Taking the turn signal switch in and out, and the wiper switch out of the steering column. And I had to replace the horn on this one also, so that was another learning curve to get the horn to work again, and I did. The horn works. So that was an effort, just because of the wiring, how it routed and whatnot underneath the dash.